a woman recite the Quran during her period? There's a lot of confusion regarding this matter, and there are three things that I would like to say about it. First of all, remember that there is no consensus amongst the scholars, there is no ijma' regarding the prohibition for a woman to recite the Quran during her period. Meaning there is no agreement over this issue that a woman cannot read the Quran during her period. This is something that has always been a difference of opinion. Secondly, there are parts of the Quran which we are taught to recite regularly in the morning, in the evening, at nighttime for our protection and our healing. For example, Ayatul Kursi. We are taught to recite it every night before going to bed. Why? So that we are safe against the attack of shaitan. Likewise, the Mu'awwidhat. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. These are essential for the purpose of protecting ourselves against evils that exist. And then thirdly, there is also Surah Al-Fatiha, which is shifa, which is a cure and healing. So if a woman is not allowed to recite the Quran during her period, this means that she's not reciting Ayatul Kursi, she's not reciting these surahs for protection, she's not reciting Surah Al-Fatiha for healing. If her children fall ill, she cannot recite it on them. And this doesn't seem realistic at all. Thirdly, we should remember that there is no clear text that prohibits the recitation of the Quran for a menstruating woman. And remember that the women at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, of course they menstruated, and the Prophet ﷺ gave them different guidelines, and he never told them to not recite the Quran. In Sahih Bukhari, in the book of Hayd, in the book of menstruation, Imam Bukhari brings the quotes of different companions and scholars. He says, for example, that Ibrahim al-Nakha'i said that لا بأس أن تقرأ الآية, that there is no harm if a woman during her period recites an ayah. So this means that if she recites an ayah, she can recite more than that also. Then he quotes that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu didn't see any problem in a junub person reciting the Quran. Now this is with regards to a junub person, someone who is in a state of sexual impurity, who's required to take a bath. So Ibn Abbas didn't see any problem if such a person recited the Quran. Then what do you think about a woman who's menstruating, whose hayd is not in her control? Then likewise, Imam Bukhari also quotes that the Prophet ﷺ used to remember Allah in all of his states. And remember that the Quran is also a form of dhikr. It is a form of remembering Allah. In fact, the Quran is called a dhikr. So there is no harm in reciting the Quran in this state. Then Imam Bukhari also quotes the letter which the Prophet ﷺ sent to the non-Muslim leaders of the time. And in those letters, the verses of the Quran were mentioned. Bismillah was mentioned. And then the ayah from Surah Ali Imran was mentioned. So those verses were to be read by non-Muslims. Now, of course, the body of a Muslim is tahir, it is pure. So just because a woman is in her period, it doesn't mean that she cannot recite the Quran. Her mouth is clean, her tongue is clean, and the Quran is in her mind. She has memorized portions of it. So does it mean that during her period she has to bring them out of her heart, of her memory? That's not possible. So remember that the body of a woman in her periods does not become unclean. Her tongue is not unclean. Her hand is not unclean. So inshallah, she can recite the Quran and there is no harm in it.
Hey, thank you for watching, and subscribe so you can continue to get the rest of the videos. I don't know, whether somewhere over here, there, whatever, whatnot. It's beautiful, this series of videos, Faith IQ, and we need your support, and that's by watching it, by sharing it, and then by donating towards it so we can continue to make more videos that deal with more of your issues. Jazakumullah khair, wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.